Okay, do you see? Yeah. You already
See. Oh, there it is. There it is. I got it. There it is. Sorry, John. Scared myself too. Okay, we're going to be starting about 2 minutes ago, so everybody calm down a little bit. We have quite an evening ahead of us, so hello Fairfield Harbor property owners, and welcome to the 2024 Candidates Night, Meet Your Candidates Night. I'm Pat Dumine, I'm the moderator tonight. Jennifer Gadatis, our community manager, and Kathleen Vuich, our community coordinator, will be the official timers. And they're pretty strict about it. They have little flags to show up when somebody's talking too long, and the yellow flag, and then the red. And then the yellow. You got 30 seconds. So that's primarily for our candidates tonight. Al Ashauer in the back is videotaping, and Rick Finleyson. Where are you, Rick? Are we live now? Okay, we're streaming as we speak. So thank you, Rick, for that. First order of business. Cell phones, off or vibrate, please. We talked about having a violators box where the phone will be tossed in the box and cost you $10 to get it out. But we couldn't decide what to do with the money, so we didn't bother with that. A few housekeeping issues, you know where the exits are: emergency exit to your right, to the back, to the parking lot, and out past the bathroom. This annual event is put on by the Fairfield Harbor Property Owners Association as a courtesy for the property owners. POA is impartial when it comes to this election and these candidates, and does not endorse any one of them. That's the disclaimer we have to give. Now, the procedures.
There's no sound on your live stream.
There's no sound on the live stream? Oh, Will's working on it. Will's a magic man. He'll fix it. Each candidate will have a maximum of 5 minutes for introductory remarks. Jen and Kathleen will keep the flags rolling there, the 30 seconds, and then the stop, and that means stop. And if you haven't stopped, we'll take the microphone away from you. And if you candidates want all to come up and use the podium, you're more than welcome to. After the allocated time for the questions is over, each candidate will then have the opportunity to provide a 2-minute wrap-up. Plan is to keep this less than 2 hours. We want to be out of here no later than 9 o'clock. Now, grumbling going on. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Let's meet your candidates for the 2024 Board of Directors election to fill the 2 seats being vacated by Phil Hewitt and John Rothengast. Gentlemen, thank you earnestly for your voluntary service to our community. Introduction from your left to right is Chris Rob.
Phil Hewitt. No going. Come on. Let's be run-ups here, please. Don Moore. Robin, yes. These 4 folks have volunteered to give our community 3 years of their lives. Untold hours of meetings and projects. This is a major commitment, ladies and gentlemen, and they deserve our thanks. Is that feedback? No? After all candidates are finished with their opening remarks, members of the audience may ask questions. Please limit your questions to 1 minute. That way, most everybody in here should be able to get a question in. No speeches. All questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to all of them. In any case, all candidates may reply to all questions. One question per person, please. Once everybody in attendance has had their chance to ask a question, we can go back for second questions. Finally, please let's be courteous. Thank you. Again, to the candidates, you all may respond to all the questions if you wish, or just to the ones that you have asked. The responses, 1 minute, please. Or 2. 1 or 2 minutes. Well, 1 or 2, maybe 2 minutes if it's a complicated problem, might need 2 minutes to answer. When the red stop sign goes up, just sit down, thank you. So when you're going to be asking questions, we ask that you come up to the front here, and we have Jen and Kathleen from a microphone. So if we think it's easier, and when you do come up to ask a question, tell us your name and where you live. The order of candidates as you see was decided by law. They drew their own names. So first up from your left to your right is Chris Ross. Want to come up and give your opening statement?
Yes, I first. I'll do it here.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate your willingness to come out on this hot evening and do all of this. My name is Chris Ross. With my wife Barbara, we purchased a home in Fairfield Harbor in 2021. We chose this retirement location after looking at a number of communities in a variety of states and decided that this secure community with access to the water and other recreational activities was right for us. We didn't want to live in a cookie cutter community with identical homes in a handful of designer colors. We wanted to be near a town with a variety of cultural activities, but far enough away to live a quiet, peaceful life. Fairfield Harbor has boating, fishing, golf, and a variety of other clubs to keep you busy. The best part of Fairfield Harbor is our neighbors. They have proven to be friendly and always willing to lend a hand when necessary. We really enjoy it here. Don Moore and I are running for the board of directors because this idyllic community is changing and not for the best. Over the past few years, the board of directors has become more and more autocratic in its policies and decisions, disenfranchising its residents with a quote, "we know best" mentality. The purpose of this board is to manage our community on a day-to-day basis, not develop it into their own image. This behavior has created a significant divide in the community, pitting neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend, and essentially drawing a line in the sand. You're either that side or this. Their management style is destructive and hurting everyone in this community, and it has to stop. The board needs to understand that their job is to create a consensus regarding potential projects and any other major changes in the land that we all own. We deserve a vote on major policy changes and just like other neighbors in the community around us. This present board does not much, This present board does too much business behind closed doors. This allowing you to know what's happening. This is our community. Those are our boardroom doors, and they should be open to allow us to see all the inner workings outside of confidential matters. Today, our bylaws are in the hands of 7 people. Those governing rules we have to abide by. Those are our bylaws and should reflect the interests of our community, should be ratified by our community. The present board has raised our dues over 30% the past 3 years without any major improvements or explanation of those increases. In fact, we have many neighbors that are in their latter years living on fixed incomes, and these increases influence their way of life, and if left unaddressed or uncorrected, could cause them to forfeit their forever homes. We're running for board of directors to start this change and to send the message to our board of directors that we don't agree with their vision of our community or the management style. All major changes, significant expense projects should be fully vetted and subject to a vote by you, the community, in a fair and fully disclosed election. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. We are at a crossroads here in Fairfield. Either we continue to move forward or we regress backwards. I believe the vision that John and I share for the harbor will continue to move us in the right direction. It's clear from the new candidates' handout, they're very critical of our vision. Why? Don't they see the value in positive financial positions where our businesses are self-sufficient, where banks compete to loan you money? Because that's what we value. Don't they see the value in the repair of our 385 infrastructure? Because that's what we value. We have signed contracts to pay another 6 golf cart paths, rebuild another 500 feet of seawall, rebuild another marina. Shoreline will be constructed like Birdland. We also established a long-term contract to finish the inner harbor seawall with locked-in prices until 2030. Don't they value our security? Because that's what we value. This summer, we will be the only community in our area that is truly gated with RFID technology and license plate readers. You will know who's coming into your community, and it will all be logged and recorded for your safety. Don't they value the increase in your reserves for umbrella policies to reflect the risk inherent in coastal communities? Because that's what we value. Don't they value getting a long-term commercial lease for your property on Highway 55? Because that's what we value. I read their vision for our community, a vision that doesn't exist in reality anywhere in America. They want to change the bylaws, the covenants, and the articles and incorporations to fit their agenda instead of functioning within them. Our board has followed the rules to the letter. They can't name a community, a city, a town, a business, or a corporation that makes decisions by group consensus. Can you imagine the cost and the time, let alone how things will grind to a halt if we have to vote on every capital expenditure or land transaction? That's not how things are done in our republic, and that's not how things are done in a community of our size. No vendor will ever want to do business with you knowing that their sealed bid and proprietary information will become public knowledge. Future homeowners will not buy our lots because in the negotiation of the sale, we must go back and forth with the community to settle on a price. Not to mention that you open Pandora's box and go down a slippery slope because you're going against North Carolina statutes, jeopardizing your coverage for errors and omissions, and exposing the entire community to a lawsuit that cannot be defended. But the most telling statement in both of their bios is their mentioning of wanting a clear and understandable budget. We provide an income statement, a balance sheet, a profit and loss statement, which are generally accepted accounting principle standards known as GAAP, which all businesses use. And if everything is budgeted, which it is, how can you then say we have uncontrolled spending? My guess is they are not able to either read financials or don't understand numbers. Sure, it's easy to run on, I'm not going to raise your dues. It feels good to say, it feels good to hear, but unfortunately, this is exactly the stagnant mindset that has led to our current situation. If only prior candidates have been willing to raise the annual dues by $75 since we bought the 385, that's just $6 a month. That's a glass of wine or a beer. We would already have the exact funds needed to rebuild our infrastructure and harbor. This vicious process of crucifying volunteers for being willing to make the hard decision to keep your community current needs to end tonight. Otherwise, Every future board member will live in fear of retaliation just for doing their jobs. And this dysfunctional cycle will continue over and over. In the biggest growth period since our conception, this is not the time to change leadership. Both John and I have been on the ground floor of progress here in the harbor, and we know the intimate details of each project. We have established solid working relationships with the businesses that our POA will use to continue the improvements to our wonderful community. Look at the results. We no longer are handcuffed by the terms of the 385. We have a fully funded Harbor Club project, a growing non-dues income, and a specifically planned budget to replace our 50-year-old infrastructure. John and I originally ran on getting our books in order, becoming financially positive, finding a new source of revenue, and working to make the Harbor Club a reality. We have fulfilled those promises and are eager to continue this progress. We are the proven executives you need to go forward. You can learn more at this and at our website, fh4.org.
Thank you. My name is Don Moore. Thank you all for coming out this evening. My wife and I, Karen, first got home back in 2014. In 2017, we moved here full time. I lived all over the United States to find a place that I wanted to move to. I found Fairfield Harbor, and I found it to be just a perfect place to be. You know, as I've been here, I've been very, very content and letting everything go as it has been for a while. The last couple of years, I've just seen the board of directors we currently have take more of the autocratic approach, not giving a list of people, not letting you have in your decisions word the voice of the decisions. The purpose of the board of directors is to manage the community, you know, not to re-image it in their vision. You know, if I wanted to live in the neighborhood that was like that, I would not have picked Fairfield Harbor. I would have picked somewhere like Carolina Colors or Traverse or something like that. But I loved it over here, you know. And so when we purchased the 365 in 2016, that was a major expenditure, and we voted on that. We had a vote. People all got together and said yes. And I believe that people can make clear decisions when given the opportunity of how they want their community run, and their voice to say that, you know, we don't understand the budget. Yeah, we do understand the budget. You know, when you're moving funds from the road funds over to card path, you know, I see that. You know, you're just shifting money around to do one thing. You know, for example, the 55 Broad Creek lot we bought. You know, why didn't we go out and if we wanted to see advertising the board? Why didn't we just rent a billboard sign rather than purchasing a lot out there? We don't know anything about that lot. You know, that was an old gas station. A soil sample, to my knowledge, was never done on that lot. Are we going to have liabilities on that? That's the question that hasn't been answered. And regarding the proposed clubhouse, we're not against the clubhouse. Never have said we were. We're just wondering is that the clubhouse that you all watched? You know, it has POA offices over there. Why do we need the POA offices moved over there? They are currently centrally located and access is convenient, secure, and cost effective where they are. I don't believe they should be moved. This is your community though, and you should have a vote if we do that. I don't believe that, for a moment, you would vote to move the offices over there. And as for the bylaws, I'd like to address that. I do believe that we should change the bylaws to where, once they're written, and we should have a vote of the people, the homeowners, to ratify those, to accept them. You look at Taberna, you look at Carolina Colors. I realize they're post 99, but there's nothing that would prevent us from allowing those to be voted on and approved by the membership. So with that, I would just like to say, thank you all for coming out tonight, and if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. Chris and I put our numbers up on our website, and you can call us, write us, and we'll be more than happy to answer questions. I'm done.
Okay. All right, good evening, fellow. Wow, okay. Yeah, no, I said I have an echo voice. Since 20 years of Senate field, sorry. Thank you all for coming tonight. I've only been to a few of these, but I don't remember a bigger crowd than this. You've been doing this for you all seen anything like this? I think it's a great time. It shows we have citizens here in the harbor who want to hear the answers directly from all four candidates, not the misconceptions, innuendo, and frankly, just outright lies on Facebook. For my part, I hope to accomplish that for you tonight. Talk is cheap, accomplishing things is not. For those of you who were not here 3 years ago when Phil and I were elected by a wide margin the first time, let me give you a little background so you understand who I am. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, most of my life, 40 miles east of New York City, before retiring here with my wife Deb 8 years ago. And we love this. I attended Catholic grammar school and high schools. I graduated from St. Bonaventure University of New York State, New York, with a BBA degree in accounting. I had a 40-year career starting as an accountant, went to supervisor, to accounting manager, to controller over those years. I worked for Fortune 100 companies like United Technologies, and I was controller of a 3-division high-end jewelry manufacturer in Manhattan for 10 years, who produced items for Neiman Marcus and Tiffany & Company and others. I finished my career at ITT Corp while holding secret clearance, and I managed 2 programs totaling $20 to $30 million in sales per year. While working in New York, Deb and I bought an oceanfront condo on one floor. We owned it for 16 years, of which I was on the board of directors for the last 7. During my 7 years as director, we replaced the 40-year-old crumbling infrastructure, paid off a 20-year mortgage, increased reserves from 50K to 500K, all with small dues increases. Does that situation sound familiar to Fairfield Harbor? It should. We have let our marinas, docks, and car paths decline over the last 10 years with a patch and plug philosophy that didn't work. This is not a 1 or 2 year fix, it takes planning. Bill and I, in our business background, have done this in the past and we're working on this right now. While I respect my opponents' noble professions as pilots, professors, IT, and deputy sheriff and security background, I do not feel that those skill sets are easily transferable to being an effective director in a community of over 2,000 homes, a restaurant, a golf course, 2 marinas, and 26 miles of road. This is a critical time in our community, and you and I cannot afford to have 2 new people learning on the job right now. Their FH Stop campaign is easy. Stop everything. Great slogan. Put me in, I'm running and doing nothing. Anyone can do nothing, that is easy. Accomplishing within budget constraints is hard. Ask anyone who served on a board anywhere, and they will agree. That is why you need proven leaders like Phil and I for 3 more years. Please elect us again, and we'll continue improving our community. This is for more than 2024. This is for the future of Fairfield Harbor. Please listen carefully tonight to the answers given to the questions. Listen to concrete answers and solutions, not feel-good catchphrases and slogans which do nothing. The choice you make in this election, you and all your neighbors will have to live with for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Ready for questions? You'll just come up to the front here. Just come on up. Here's your name, where you live, please. And then
Beth Harris, I live on Albatross Drive. This question is all for you, and it's simply a yes or no question, and it doesn't really need any explanation. Have you or anyone else on the deed of your property participated in an FH stop event, communication, signed an FH stop petition or proxy to remove 2 board members without cost, donated openly or anonymously to the FH Stop Bill Fund, or have you ever threatened legal action against the POA board, or had an outside attorney communicate with the Fairfield Harbor POA attorney in regards to any legal matters, particularly in regards to land issues?
I'll answer a no to all of them. I will answer it yes.
You, don't forget your mics. We can't hear you.
they have mics up there.
I answered no to all of the above.
I answered yes, because I would like to replace this to.
I answer no to each and every question that you have there.
Well, I know you want a yes, no, but there are 8 or 9 caveats to yes, no. So
Yes or no? It's a yes or no.
no, ma'am, there are some yeses and some no.
No, I've been in meetings with you, I know what the answers are, I don't ask open-ended questions, and a yes or no really does do.
There's yeses and nos in your answer.
There's not. It's a yes or a no.
It's a yes or no.
It's a compound question, and I can't answer yes to everything, because it's not a yes to everything. And I can't answer no to everything, because it's not a no to everything. It's yes, no, answer.
You can say yes, yes.
No, sorry, that's fine. That's fine.
You know,
We have the next.
My name is Howard Advisor, I live on Elm Drive, section 7. My question is to all the work here, but I'd like to hear from you, if you had the chance to answer first. I've been here for about 17 years, I'm probably here 35. At least candidates talk about the need for transparency. So if you were on the board, how would you change that dynamic?
First of all, I would like to make it so that all the work meetings were live streamed, you could do that. If not, at least put on the YouTube or some media where they could be available to anybody out there at any time. I believe that there's things that are currently done in closed session, it shouldn't be done in closed session. There's some things that need to be done in closed session. Disciplinary actions, contract negotiations, but once it's out of the negotiation, it's a contract that is available, should be available to people of the harbor without having people move to get to that. To the question of transparency, I think that word is way overused. I think ethics and accountability is what you're asking for, sir. How do I bridge that gap? But you're asking for transparency. Transparency is communication. Communication from the board to the people, from the people to the board. There's a divide, much like in the middle of the room. And how do you bridge that divide? By listening to the feelings of people on both sides, coming together and working through issues to resolve that for harmony in our community.
I'll take it. Okay, Phil and I have been saying for 3 years that one of the things we ran on was transparency. Okay, hold on. There's certain things in board meetings that if you were in GM or AT&T or anything else, there's certain things that have to be discussed. And not every shareholder gets a shot at listening to the whole board meeting, okay?
We're not.
Can I finish? Thank you. I have.
No interruptions, please, while they're speaking. Thank you.
So we have put out in the weekly newsletter, when we've addressed anything on the Harbor Club or Red Sail Park or the marinas, every week we use four places to get to the general public. That one, the beacon, the blast emails, and other things that get sent out on any kind of thing that Jennifer puts out. It's not just on a weekly basis. Now, as far as there's certain things that I don't agree with Don on the fact of putting something on YouTube. When you have a board of directors meetings, it's supposed to stay within your community, okay? This is financial information. It doesn't go out to YouTube for the world for people to look at. So I don't agree on that aspect. I agree. We try to be transparent. We have people are allowed into the board meetings. We have people who come into the board meetings. But there's certain aspects of any board or running any company or any large place like this, that you have to make decisions on that. So could we do a little better? Sure, we'll try. But that's my take on that. Bill?
Yeah, so as far as like live streaming, it's a great suggestion. Ideas are easy, implementation is hard. Who's gonna volunteer to do that? You have to have somebody do it, because otherwise you're gonna have to pay them. As far as executive sessions is concerned, it is necessary, and it's in our actual bylaws. If we have to do it for legal issues, litigation issues, you have to do it for contracts, you have to do it for real estate, you have to do it for foreclosures. You have to do it for anything that talks about personnel issues that are going on, or anybody that might be in the community, because you're subject to a lawsuit, you talk about it over. And that's where it happens. And then when there's a motion, after the discussion, after you come out of executive session, you actually have a motion. To address your conversation or your question about transparency, can we do better? Yeah, we can. I mean, we have sources as far as we have the email blast, we have the party updates, we have the beacon, we have a number of electronic ways that we do it. We're not doing it so much in the written ways as we used to do when we do the flyers out there. But one of the things I think everybody wants us to do is communicate by Facebook. And Facebook is not a place to get your information.
Oh,
And so.
nobody owns that.
Meeting, my name is Todd Wagner, I live on Newfield Place. This is kind of a question of the way you guys operate. It may not be a good question for this other class. You all want to run this place like a business. You talk about how non-deal dues revenue builds. The marinas, we own them, we rent them. Why is the money not put away to repair those? Why is our money repairing those marinas?
Okay, there's something that is.
Well, you just said it's simple business, but you say we can't run it like a business. So your marinas and your profits from your golf course and what we call non-dues is actually paying for the 385 loan. Because that's what the judge said, is that, hey, if you're gonna buy real property, you cannot use your dues for it. You have to use non-dues. And we are getting out from that handcuff contract. So we're going to actually pay that off. And those dollars can go back into capital improvements.
I think you understood my question. Why are our dues paying to repair the docks when it's a business they're renting?
Nobody can hear you on the live stream today.
Why are we paying
Microphone.
repairs on those marinas when it's a business? They're renting it, making money. Any business puts money.
It just, I just literally explained it to you that the profits that come out of those businesses are now paying for the 385.
But why did you put money away to maintain that? Just like we have a savings in case of a catastrophe.
I just explained to you that we actually literally did that. We literally just rebuilt Orlando Marina. We put five, it's all of our monies.
That's my point. Why am I paying for something I'm not renting to be repaired?
Because you own it as a property owner. You're responsible for all of it. It doesn't matter what the amenity is.
Hey, Todd, I'm sorry,
So
one question, please.
if you want income from it, do you also want the losses from it as well? Because that's what a business is.
That's my whole point. That's the business you put one way to repair.
No,
Yeah, that's
you
not-
actually don't
that's not-
understand this. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're out.
My rights are wrong.
I have a question for Don and Chris. And I think both of you realize that we did not vote these people into office. The board voted them into office. I've been here 38 years. In the board, actually what the board does is usually time shovel to the candidates. Chris, what do you think of that? You want to put these what would you do? What are you going to do about the way we elect officers for the board? It's much like the electoral college. We basically, the electoral college makes the president. In federal law, so the board picks the new board.
As I understand your question, there's a collective of votes that come in, goes to the board's office, and they decide where those votes go.
It's divided equally among the candidates.
That in fact, sir, is where I was gonna go with that. If those votes from the proxies of the timeshares and the condominiums come in at a bulk of, I think, somewhere around 200, those votes, because those people really don't have much input other than a proxy vote, those votes should, in my opinion, be equally distributed amongst all of the candidates on the panel. Thus far, it makes it more equal for all of your guys' votes as a voice in the community.
And it's actually, can I respond to that? Yeah.
Okay, so,
Briefly, Bill, please.
okay, the condos, like a builder or a homeowner, have an individual vote. Their board decided how their votes go, not the POA. So it is sealed and hid in private, just like your vote is. So if they vote one way for one director or another director, that's their choice. We don't have any visibility to it at all, period. That board decides where that vote goes. When I say that board, I mean that is their bylaws, not ours. Same. And the timeshares board decides where their votes go. Their board then makes a vote for their timeshare. It's no different than a builder that owns 50 lots or the condos that own 200 lots or an individual that owns 5 or 1. Their vote is weighted based on what they own as property owners.
Maybe I get a little clarification, condominiums are individually owned. So each owner of a condo has a vote. Door. Timeshares are collective owners. And that's when the boards come in and they have discussions and so on. And the board members vote of the timeshare, not of the POA.
I think we should look at is the timeshares have 200 votes. And those votes are voted by the timeshare presidents. They're not voted by the board. Okay, each says, I think maybe 8 different. Yeah,
They're voted by their boards.
they're voted by their board.
Boards, yes.
And for each door they get 1 vote for each door. So if they have 56 units, for example, that president of that timeshare unit gets 56 votes. It's not voted apply this POA, you know. It's a corporation, they're running it as a business.
Okay, next question. One last comment. Timeshares, some people own 2 weeks of the timeshare. Okay, some people own 4 weeks. So you have to multiply 26 just for the 1 unit. And then you have each of the timeshares going to vote. That's the reason you do that. It would be impossible to figure it out.
My name is Carol Spears and I live on Castleberry Lane. I have a question about, and I may not have facts correct about this, and you can correct me if I don't. Apparently there were 37 lots sold, to a developer or a real estate person. And they were sold for like $1 each or something like that. They're in the wetlands. And my question about that is, my understanding is that they're not being charged because they're buying property that needs serious work in order to become buildable. They're not paying dues for a period of time. My question is, do they get a vote? Do they get, since they're not dues paying, do they get a vote in these elections?
So they're actually, it's called a land grant. So they actually did pay a nominal fee, which is $1 per lot. Okay, so these have been sitting on our books for years. We've been paying probably close to over $100,000 on that for the hookup, for the taxes, and for the insurance on that. They're not wetlands, okay? They're all enumerated lots. They're all buildable. The Senate, or excuse me, the Supreme Court has reversed decision on that. It has to be now considered navigable lots. So those ghost lots of years ago are now being looked at and reclassified. This was actually offered to multiple builders, one step up to the plate because you're going to have a master. And we've already talked to DEQ and the Corps. So the DEQ, the Corps, and the developer and us will create a plan that will work. As far as being able to vote, yes, because he's actually the property owner. His dues are delayed. So he's gonna have to spend about $100,000 of his own money to create an actual master.
They get 37 votes. This is going to have a control, right? If there are 37.
He owns the lots. His dues are delayed. So if you want to go buy those lots, if you've gone over there and looked at them, you could have purchased any of those, like any of those other lots.
But he's saying that they're allowed to vote on those 37 lots.
How about people on a payment plan? They don't vote. Don't count.
And so we can take questions on it.
My name is Les Pound. I've lived here for 25 years. Full disclosure, I am on the board. My question goes to the motivation for being on this thankless position. Specifically for Chris. You came before the board a few months ago, Chris, with a list of grievances, and we listened to you. It narrowed down at the end of that discussion. I asked you, your primary reason you're here today is because you have a vacant lot beside you that the OA owns it, and they had considered putting 3 lots over there for sale. The money which would be used for capital improvements, which is improvements on everything we all own, and we all own that lot right now. It's no different than any other lot. You said you don't think your lot should ever be built on, that it was special, and you wanted it never developed. So my question to you is this: how are we to trust you to believe that you love all your neighbors when you don't want to be?
Thank you for your question, Les. You did, he's right. I did come into the office in February. And I did have a concern. And the concern, in fact, was about the 2021 election issues, where we have a board member that was not eligible at the time of the closing of the candidate. That's why I came to the board meeting and had a conversation. It was addressed. Now, you're asking me if I came about 3 lots. In fact, sir, it's 5 lots on the Gondomar Peninsula that was put up for sale back in October on a, how much time do I have? I missed my timer. Thank you. It was 5 lots that was put up for sale on the Gondomar Peninsula in a newsletter in October saying, we're gonna sell these lots. One of those lots is in fact next to my house. That lot prompted me to research why, when I came here in 2021, the POA office told me it cannot be sold. It needs a 100% vote from the community in order to sell that lot because we're a pre-99 community. Then in 10 months later, when my neighbor moves in, he sees the surveyors in that lot. He calls the POA office and says it's an 80% vote of the community to sell that lot because we're a post-99 community. My concern in February was that I'd like to protect our open spaces. Well, our open spaces are our largest asset. That is part of why you moved here, how many years ago? Plus 10, 17, 15 years ago? 25. Sorry, sir, thank you, 25 years ago. That's why most of all of you are here, because you like that open space. I talked to, in fact, it was my wife who found this concern and brought it to our attention. My concern was about the election matter. Her concern is about fighting for the open space. And I see out here in front of you saying our open spaces are valuable and need to be protected.
I'm Rick Miller, I'm 7 Domingo. I also am a member of the board. I'm gonna make it an easy question for everybody sitting behind that table. Are you in favor of, it's a 2-part question. Are you in favor of?
Let him respond to the last
building
question.
Charter club, and what will, after your response, what will be the impact of property values?
All right, I'll go first. I was on the committee to build the community center for 5 years. I ended up as chairman of that committee, determined to the board in 2018. Had all the different aspects from everybody in the community, from a prior survey, from KCS, and it was one of the top things in this community. I was on that committee. And I got on the board, and I believe that the Harbor Club would be good for this community right now. It'll be good for future communities. And the property values will only go up in value with something like this, that when we have 2,000 people here, when this building was built 20, 30 years ago, we had 400, okay? We've outgrown it. And a lot of the other ones around here have it, and your property values only go up. I've got real estate people say, I take people to the Vernon or Carolina Color, they show them a nice place, and we come here, we just drive by as fast as we can, under 35.
One case started.
First of all, I'm not opposed to a clubhouse. Or club, okay? I don't know if the clubhouse that you as a community want, because you had no vote on it. If you had a vote, you may say it was something you wanted or something you didn't want. I will say that I don't think the POA offices need to be moved over there. And that's a pretty shut. Centrally located right now. Everybody drives by them. They're right there. You can't get in here without going by it. They put them behind the gate over in the corner where they're not accessible for everyone. But it just doesn't make sense to me. So, like again, I think it's your community, you get a vote. You should have a vote, and your voice should be heard. I think.
Okay, so yeah, about the Harbor Club, but let's talk about this vote that you keep talking about. Yeah, there was a vote to buy the 385. There was a reason there was a vote, because it was an unanticipated expenditure. And by the bylaws stated that you needed a vote. You know what would have happened if that judge said, hey, you need to sell this or buy this property right now, and it was next year? The very next year, they would have just put it on the budget and you wouldn't have had to vote for it. So that's when you actually get a vote, when you actually follow the bylaws. As far as it being increasing your property values, absolutely. When you buy, like Chris was talking about, you go through a checklist. The community center is never a con on a checklist. It's always a plus that it's actually there. So yes, where your values actually go up, yes. Now let's address what you keep talking about as far as the POA offices. Again, it's being short-sighted and not looking into the future. So if we have the ability to make that space and if the future boards want to make that a revenue producing, where they want to have weddings and events there and generate dollars from it, then you're gonna want the management team there. You're not gonna want people going back and forth. You want people to come to the jewel of the harbor. We're going to be able to identify them and know where they are, the RFID, so.
Mr. Miller, thank you for your question. I'm in favor of public club. We need something to bring us all together. This is nice, but this is small. We've turned away about 50 people from the door. Sorry you feel that way, man, but this is our community. I'm sorry you feel this together. People do deserve something. In fact, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why we need something, is because that mentality, it resonates through the community like a cancer, and that's unhealthy. We need something better.
Hi, Morgan. John, I have a question to you. With all the acrimony that's been in the community lately, divide in the room, what is the reason why you guys were afraid to have a vote on the community center? It would have ended all the acrimony that was going on.
First of all, the vote and the community have done all the aspects of this that they need to. And the board is within its rights to do what it did. It had surveys back in 2015, it had surveys back in 2018, it had KCI. All right, let me finish, okay? We had a focus group in 2021 where I called 250 to 300 people individually, and I got the heads of every club. We have 62 clubs here who want a bigger facility, okay? They all voted for that. They all said they wanted that. Some people did show up because we had a 6-hour focus group, and the people who showed up were dedicated to say, we want this new community center. So this has gone on since 2010. I think Bill Drexel will be here, it's gone on for 15, 20 years, okay? We're actually getting it done. That's the difference on this board. So if you constantly keep going after surveys and constantly keep going after votes, 2 years later you have new people, and it keeps getting kicked down the road. So we've gotten to the point where the prior board before us did this. They put in, say, $100 increase to each of 3 years that will fund and plan the budget for the clubhouse. That will take care of it going this part forward. We won't need to increase anything else for that clubhouse. It's planned, it's under the 15% that anything has to go, okay? And so if we're doing this to the community, they've asked for it time and time again. We're actually getting it done, and I'm very proud of being part of that.
Surveys and.
One question at a time, please. Sir.
Nobody else in line. There's nobody else in line.
My name is Kevin Heidel. I live on 900 Drive. And full disclosure, I will be the treasurer for the POA, replacing Rich Miller. And I have like 10 questions, but I'll keep going around if I have to. All right, because I will tell you that, the budget is the most important document, okay, that is put out every year. It is a guideline to how you're going to operate. So here is my first question. Between 2021 to 2024, the inflation rate increased 20%. Your website states, and this is the progress, your website
states the government posted a 3.2 cost of living increase, and this board raised the dues 19%. Well, on a $5 million budget, 20% is about $1 million. So I'll cut it down to say $700,000. All right, so my question to you is this: how is the board to make up 20% cost of living increase without raising dues?
I don't think they need you to make up a cost of living like that. The cost of living for the US government site is 3.2%. That's the cost of living of the US government site. Okay. We increased the dues by 19% this year.
Okay, I guess my next question.
So actually. So he asked, he said 19%. As John stated, the prior board raised it $100 each year. What we raised it was $122 extra. We told you what it was for, because there was never a budget in place for the infrastructure on the 385. You bought the land, but you didn't do anything about taking care of the infrastructure. The infrastructure includes the seawalls, the marinas, the cart paths. Those cost dollars. Now we have that in place. I just said that we signed the contract to do 6 more golf carts, another 500 feet of seawall, and the final marina in there. So when you say the cost of living, what about inflation? Inflation's at 20–25% in like a couple of years. So you have to make up for that as well.
Oh. You have a problem if you do, right on up, sir. You can get
Back in line, please, we have additional questions, thank you. Rich doing it right, he's getting in line, he's a good boy.
Yes, this is for you. If in fact, 50% of this community feels that this is subpar, or as my friends call it, the ghetto. If you think that's cancer, and 50% of us feel that way, how do you plan to bridge the gap that you in fact have just helped create?
Your question is about 50% of the community believe that this community is a ghetto. No, ma'am. You said, I used your words when you said this is a ghetto. Those were your words, ma'am.
This building
Is
subpar, and it is a ghetto.
so you use the word ghetto, and you're coming at me with a question saying, I say it's a ghetto. No, ma'am.
Okay, debate, it's not a debate, folks, it's a question.
Here's the other part of her question.
It's going to bridge the gap you just helped to create with the other 50% of this community that feels as I do.
That's an excellent question.
Okay, the answer, I'm waiting.
That's an excellent question. So the ideology of, and I didn't say 50%, because I don't believe it's a 50%. I think there's a handful on one side and a handful on the other, and there's about 85% in the middle that are just looking at each side going, wait a minute, what's going on? We have this people over here, this people over here, not enough. I am not part of either group. I am an independent thinker who does independent research and fights for those who do not, cannot, and will not speak for themselves. That is my profession, and that is what I bring to you. I am trained professional litigator in the community bridging department. I work in the. That's why it came down, because your behavior, your responses, and your words are the cancer that leads to this decision.
It's been stated that, for uncontrollable spending. Little factoid that I would like to give you, FY 23, we had a $4.7 million budget. Actual to 4.7. Net income, which is the bottom line, 37K. That's the delta between income and expense, 37K. We hit a home run. Oh, by the way, we had three people on base too. We had a grand slam. So my question to you is, where is the uncontrollable spending that I'm hearing about? Just at the dawn.
Well, here again, I'm gonna address it as the clubhouse that they want and POA offices again. Why would you build additional clubhouses over there? When you would need, I mean, you could have a clubhouse that wouldn't have that cost.
Okay, we go to the POA offices, we got an empty building.
You're never gonna get that money back.
Sorry, I'm ready again. Question answered, that's it. Thank you. Next question. Get back in line, Rich. My name's Ellen Lazy. I live on Gondolia Drive, and I'm gonna get off the money right now. Chris said he was willing to relook at the bylaws. Now, we are one community, correct? Why are the bylaws not the same for every part of the community? Why are the bylaws on this side of Rock Creek Road different from this side of Rock Creek? We are one community, so we should all have the same.
I'll address that. It has to do with when the time, when the, they were built, the units were built, okay? For example, you have section 1 down there, and 7, they were all built at one time. They were then incorporated after one set of DORs, okay? Over on the other side, you have another, for example, the golf course site. You have another set over here. You have another set down in the condos that were built after that. Those were built with different DORs because they were appropriate. Now, those different units, for example, you have RVs and boats that could be on the properties over on the Harbor Point side, but not on the shoreline side. And that's because when they were voted on, the Harbor Point site voted to change their DORs. And when it came to the vote for the same thing over here on the shoreline side, it was rejected down. So we don't have boats over here and trailers because the community on this side didn't want it, but on the other side, they wanted the boats and the RVs to be able to park on the property. So it's all in the matter of both.
So once again, you don't understand our incorporations, our covenants, and our bylaws. Bylaws and DORs, declarations of restriction, are two completely separate documents. Now, you said why we can't have our doors equal. She was asking, why can't our bylaws be the same for all? Our bylaws are the same for all of the 7 properties that are in here.
I meant to say.
I think she was referring to DORs. I was trying to answer your question. Okay, I understood what you were saying.
All right.
Next question.
Bill Hewitt, Chief Terry, Court. My question is to John Roth, you asked. You mentioned that there were surveys and focus groups done concerning the Harbor Club. I was part of that focus group in 2021. All right. You only asked, and you told me this, that only people that were in favor of it were actually invited to do them.
No, absolutely.
I'm not finishing my question. Okay, finish my question. Then you said that there would be no vote, you were using the surveys and the focus group as a vote. Please explain to everybody here, what's the difference between a survey and a vote? That,
First of all, I never said only the people invited, that were in favor of it. I invited all 62 groups who were here, and they made their own decisions whether they wanted to show up or not.
you're lying.
Sorry you don't agree, Bill. Number two, this community has put surveys out with all the people. I was part of the one in 2016 that was in the old POA, and they brought 7 or 8 people in and said, put a list on the wall of your top priorities. And some were the over 55, some was Red Sail Park, some was a playground, some was a whole bunch of different things that have all been done. The only one that was on that survey that has not been done was the community center. And that was rated at 48% of everybody wanted that. So how many times do you have to go back to the community and say, oh, well, I didn't get my chance to say? Well, people moved, people died, and you've had surveys, 15, 18, 21, and everybody wanted it. It was over, almost 50% of everybody. People wanted this. The community is in a place like this, okay? And we could have a community center and everybody could be here. So that's my answer, is that the community has voiced their opinion. I'm sorry you didn't get a vote.
Survey is not a vote.
48% is not 51%.
Okay, no, it's not a debate here, folks. Questions, next question, please.
My name is Cindy Drexel and I live on Health Trust. I'm gonna get back down to the nuts and bolts here. On John and Phil's paper, get your objectives, very clear objectives of what you want to do for Fairfield Park if they're going to be in, if you are reelected. I read the first thing on, I read your, we believe, what we believe in very carefully. And what I read was a whole lot of feel-good statements and numerous declarations against the current board. I didn't get a clear vision. So what's your 3-year plan? What do you want to do to this community as far as growing it as these two have done?
Well, I think it's important, like I said, I am not opposed to a community center, Harbor Club. I think though, that the current board is underestimating the people out there and their ability to make a decision. Okay. The community, okay, so the community can lead. I don't think with the input of the community, you can get guidance from them. I don't believe that you need, maybe not you, but you know, the people will tell you what they want.
They have 6 objectives. What are your objectives for this community? That's what I'm.
No, I think we need to. Got here. I think we need to look at the seawalls for one thing. They're currently the bulkheads around there. What we can spend additional money, we need to fix up what we currently have. The roadways are currently in need of repair. Okay, I think we fix things before we move on.
So let me address that. I addressed that in our opening statement. So we just did 500 feet of seawall. We put in a long-term contract to finish the inner harbor by 2030 at a fixed price. We just rebuilt the marina. We spent $600,000 on roads in the last 2 years. So it can't be fixed all at once. This is a 50-year-old structure that's crumbling, and you have to have the targeted approach to be able to do it. And if you look at the budget, and if you look at the capital reserves, and if you look at the 5-year plan, it's all being addressed.
Mr. Russell, thank you for reviewing our part. Thank you for reading it thoroughly. I've reviewed it several times, and I know it seems like a feel-good perspective. But I gotta be honest with you, look around this room, this is why it needs to stop. In order to fix, yes, ma'am, thank you, I totally agree with you. I think if we go back and review, we need some dispute resolution training in this place. We need to come together as a community, and this is where I see this going. Regardless of the projects that are on the 6th form that you're looking at, we gotta fix our roadways and our infrastructure. It's 50 years old, as Phil just said, but it's not sustainable for the future, long-term, as in this bulkhead project that's another 30 or 40 years. There's the backside, there's on the Valmont Peninsula that has been neglected. The sewer lines are halfway, 3/4 of the way clogged, according to the sewer company that was out doing the work in front of my house last year. That's something that needs to happen, and it probably should be discussed. That's one of two. The other thing is, and we're back to the community center. We need one. This isn't big enough. Turning away 50 people who want to be here to participate and witness this thing is really frustrating and disheartening to those that drove away. I don't know what their mindsets are. I don't even know where they stand. But the fact that they were turned away bothers me, not only as a resident, but as a candidate. We need to be able to open this thing up with cameras or video booths in the other room and make this larger so that we can all come together.
You do realize the sewers are not us, right? The sewers is CWS?
I do.
Okay, that has nothing to do with our budget or our infrastructure. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
I have a quick comment to make. First is, we've been running, hands across Fairfield Harbor. And I've been in charge, done a lot of circulating of flyers. And one of the things I do is just like, either on foot or a bike or a car, going around the number of different homes there are here. How many homes are allotted? You're allotted?
Please keep all that chatter down in the back while anyone is speaking, and we need a question. This is not time for comments, we need a question.
You say that in moving the offices, the management and the board offices to this new clubhouse makes sense for the reasons that you gave. And then you say that this other building is going to be used for businesses to rent. I want to know, how long do you think it would take to make enough revenue with your rent to offset the cost of moving your offices all the way there? I mean, I don't know how much of $7 million your offices are going to be, but it looks like a rather large section of the building. And I want to know how long, projected, how many rents you're going to get in order to offset, much less exceed the cost of the building and moving your offices over there.
Okay, everything was considered on the Harbor Club on the fact that your POA offices belong, right now, your POA offices are where all the Harbor Clubs meet. Everybody comes into the community and everybody meets for whatever reason they're here, business, pleasure, etc. Okay, it makes no sense to leave the old offices, which was the POA, when everything else is moving to the new facility, okay? You want businesses to come in, go up that hill, we now know who everybody is, we've had threats to the board and other things. You wanna know everybody who goes through those gates, that has an agenda, who they're seeing, why they're there, you go up there. Now you have the POA office, which is a hub of activity and 4 or 5 people. they're working around and they're in that building. Why would you leave a building to the community center with no guidance over it? Do you want to hire a general manager for $70,000 a year to set up there? No, you don't. So it makes more sense to move your POA offices to the center and the hub. It's also the newer facility. And the other aspect is all of these offices that are here are they are outside the gated community. So you can put in a doctor's office, a dentist, a chiropractor, whatever. Those people are not coming into our communities. The gate is here, the gate is there. So that aspect of the security was also considered. And there's a few other things involved besides that, but the main aspect is this is your old hub, that is your new hub, and that's why it's moving.
No.
This question is for Chris and Don. I'm Tina McGrath on Pelican Drive, and I'm a current board member. Some of the people supporting and funding your campaign are some of the very same people who have called our current board members names and have made some serious accusations about us. How do you feel about those unprofessional actions of those people?
Well, I'll start. First of all, we need a community to come together. We need to respect each other. And any attitude like that should not be acceptable. I mean, we should all be professional, and we're trying to do this to better our community. Okay? We're all here because we care about the community. So, I don't know what you've actually endured, but anything has not be accepted.
Good question, Tina. That's the second time in about 3 minutes I've heard the response to BOE. And I will say unequivocally, unacceptable across the board. Don't be stupid. Don't say things that you really don't mean. If you really want to understand that, go back to 1937 and watch the movie To Kill a Mockingbird and understand how words really get twisted and convicted of wrongdoings. That's just wrong. I have a big problem with that because in my profession, words matter. If you say I'm going to kill you, or you make a death threat, frankly, that's a criminal element. I don't have time for that, nor should you be living or working with your head on a swivel. You got a job to do. We have a residence to live in. This goes back into that bridging the gap and the divide in the community. Y'all, most of us, actually all of us, are emotionally charged by the divide in our community. Whether you're on one side or the other, in the middle, looking around. That emotional charge creates an emotional hijacking, which makes you say things and act irrationally when you otherwise aren't. How to fix that? You need to be heard. You need to be heard on one side, they need to be heard, we need to be heard, we all need to come together and find some resolution to this thing. Thank you again for the question. And if that's happening, I will say it again to you out in TV land, stop. To you here, please stop. That's unnecessary.
Chris, I couldn't agree more, but you were also part of that problem. You were the one that posted all over Facebook that I was an ineligible candidate. Well, guess what? I did that myself. That was a prior board that did that. You pulled up documents, you pulled up everything that you could do to scourge and disgrace me. I had nothing to do all that, Chris. And also, it's interesting, you also put on your Facebook page, Friday Night Lies by the POA. Do you remember that in March when you did that? So how you say and you preach that, hey, we can't be divisive, but you literally just said that it's true that all the board of directors, the treasurer, the secretary are all liars. How are you going to divide that gap now that you actually created? And now you're saying, hey, I'm here to be honest and be trusted. Look at me, I'm gonna divide, I'm not gonna create division. You were part of that division.
Yeah, let's get on to the next question, please. Let's go, next question, please. Kevin. What's not on the agenda? Oh, debates, yeah.
You say it every week, sir.
Now you're doing.
Ellen, man. Yeah, I'm gonna circle back to Don, talked about we should only have a 3.5% increase because that's what you said it was. We already identified that the $300 is going directly to the Harbor Club. We've also identified it's a $122 increase is going, okay, to fix the amenities. Okay, so my question is this to Don. With $2.8 million in outstanding amenity repair and replacement costs for the Shoreline Marina, Harbor Point, and Shoreline Golf Carts and the Inn and Harbor bulkheads, how do you expect to make these repairs and replacements without raising dues?
I don't. I mean, dues need to be raised when the you can't have, but you know, you're want to build a harbor club for $7 million. If you could bring that price tag down, we would have dues that were so high. I think, you know, you have to remember that it's a median age in the harbor here, it's 64 years old. The median income is 69,000. A lot of people in this community live on a fixed income. They don't have the budget, the money to spend on these increasing dues. So we have to be careful how we spend the money.
So, Don, you're actually correct. We are, median age in here is 65. The average salary is $70,000. That's 2% for your dues. Okay, and you're right. The rate of poverty in here, or those that live below the level, it's supposedly between 3 and 4%. 1/3 of what it is in Newburgh. But the facts and the numbers don't figure out, because if we look at the number of people that were current this year that paid on time, it was literally the same as last year. And if there's so many people that are on fixed incomes and are poverty stricken in here, then why do we only have about 10 or 12 people that take advantage of the payment?
Right.
Oh, they can tax returns.
Next question.
This is personal to me. I was the one that got the death threat in writing, in the suggestion box. So if you want to serve on the board, be prepared here. My question is this. You said you're for the club. You're in favor of the clubhouse, is that correct?
A club, not this one.
You said you're in favor of a new clubhouse. You said you were in favor of a new clubhouse.
Not particularly this one.
You were in favor of a new clubhouse.
Absolutely.
So everybody's in favor of that. Chris, you said the infrastructure is crumbling. We need money for the inner bulkhead. We need money for the sewer. You listed off several $1 million worth of stuff. You had said all of the infrastructure is 64 years old. You just said it. But you guys have problems with the dues that just cover what has to be done in the community that are already there. If y'all are in favor of all of the improvements and stuff, how the heck do you intend to pay for all that?
Well, I think paying for it means to sit down with the treasurer, figure out exactly where we are. If our budget and our numbers are as they say they are, then it should pay for itself. But the absorbent increase, as the prior board agreed 100, 100, 100, and this board decided to add 122 on top of this year's. Well, that's a significant increase every year. What's to stop them, what's to stop them from making more increases along the way? How do you pay for the stuff? We gotta pay for it. in what increment, that's something we need to figure out, but to have just a few people making incremental changes to our dues to rise, there's a significant problem in and of itself.
Okay, so if you look at the budget, there's a 3 and a 5 year plan. The 3 and 5 year plan show that the only dollars that are gonna be raised is for the rate of inflation. I talked about how it's easy to run for a position as a candidate and say, hey, I'm never gonna raise the dues. We've already seen what happens when that doesn't happen. If we had raised the dues from 2016 to $75 a year, that's $5 to $6 a month, we would be at the exact same location, the exact same number as we are today. We're just playing catch up, folks.
Phil's saying, I'm gonna agree with what Phil said, okay? If you add an increment of $75 a year, after 4 years, that's $300. The fact that you're starting to the 122 now, you've lost that increment of money every year. That's $75 times 3,000 homes, let's say, it's really 2,800, but for round numbers, you take $75 times 3,000 homes, it's $210,000. You do that each year, after 3 years, you have $630,000. If you wait 3 years and you start doing it now, you don't have that money that's already in there working to fix those things. And by the fact that we did action fix for 10 years here is the reason we're in this infrastructure problem right now.
Maybe I could ask a quick question. Has anybody not had an opportunity to ask a question? Because we're recycling people here, which is fine. That was the whole point of this. Pardon me? If you need to ask a question, come on up in line, please.
So my question is for John and Chris. You've been here since 2014 and 2021. Have you guys volunteered for any other committees or boards, and whatever? Is there any positive feedback from the community or anything like that since you've been here?
I have not been on the Fairfield Harbor Committee. I am currently on the board with the newcomers alumni group in Newburgh. So I didn't volunteer for that position. I've gone several clubs there and may I answer your question for Fairfield? Pardon? In Fairfield, yes.
That's the plus.
Not the committees, Fairfield, no. Outside of Fairfield, yes. Not in here.
Chris. No, sir. They allowed to speak. They allowed to speak.
Am I allowed to speak? I've been here since 2016. My wife and I, Deb, have served on the road gang, the Broad Creek Road Gang. You go out once a month for 45 minutes and do a zone. Right now, we have a lot of people aging out. I have 3 zones, my wife has 2, we have 5 out of the 25. So we're looking for some volunteers, so Don and Chris, if you want to pick up a zone, it doesn't push you, it helps make it hard. I also volunteered to be on the Harbor Cup Committee 6 years ago. I was on it every year trying to get this done. I eventually became chairman of that committee. I was told by many people on the board that we did a good job and a lot of people wanted it. But if you want to get this done, you have to run for the board yourself. That was the reason, that's one of the reasons I'm here. I also volunteer for VITA, volunteer income tax assistant for 7 years downtown. We do taxes for free to people in Fairfield Harbor and also in the Newburgh community. And there's something else I'm doing, but I forgot. And I'm served on your board for 3 years, which is probably 30, 40, 50 hours a week. Other than that, I haven't done anything.
There's been a lot of discussion tonight about the impact of the POA offices moving to the new Harbor Club.
I have a comment and then I have a question. The new Harbor Club is 14,000 square feet. Is there anybody in here that knows how much space, how much of that space is to be occupied by the POA offices? Anybody?
That including the lobby or just the offices?
That includes the POA offices. Anybody have a number?
30%?
2,100 square feet. It's about the size of this space that we're in right now. That's the impact of that POA office in the Harbor Club, which is 14,000 square. feet. What do they have? I didn't have a question, I had a comment.
How much do they have?
2,100 square feet.
Yeah.
2,100 square feet now, and 2,100 square feet in your building.
Okay, next question, please.
This is, again, Chris O'Donnell. We've seen where Phil and John have implemented projects that's going to bring in non-dues revenue that will help offset our operational expenses. What non-dues revenue sources will you generate to help offset our annual operational dues?
First of all, I think Phil and John did a good job generating those non-juice revenues. I think we need to work with True to make sure that golf courses can bring in more money. I think there's probably things that could be advertising and things like that to be bring in more tourists, things like that. So, but I think they've done a good job of working with this on future. I'll give you credit for that. I think they've done a good job. I think with the marinas, we could probably see about maybe bringing in maybe some more fingers so we get some more docks out there. That could be there's a lot of people that like to flip space. And but you know, that's the project that we have to plan for budget for. It's for revenue.
Thank you. Okay. Somebody got an idea.
So your question to non-dues revenue. Well, I think it needs to slow down, because the rate we're going, we're taxing ourselves out of our neighborhood, bringing in tax for everything. Yeah, $50 fine here, $50 fine there, that needs to slow down. As far as non-use revenue income. Well, we own a sign on Broad Creek and 55. That's not going anywhere. Maybe we need to reevaluate that sign, turn it into a rotating advertisement billboard and sell airtime to different companies in the area to make more income. Instead of a fixed billboard with a marquee. There's an idea, and that might generate a different type of income.
Take the mic away from you, huh?
My name is John Blanowitz and I live at 707 Swashbuckle. My name may be familiar or not familiar, but against all odds tonight, I am going to say something and my wife's going to make me regret it. Primarily to John and Bill, you earlier made a comment about executive session, the use of executive session and secrecy and so forth, about disciplinary issues, et cetera, in your board meetings, which are attended by a few if they're allowed. However, as of last August, as you notice, I have not been present for a reason that you both know. Since that time, because apparently you're not allowed to talk with residents about the occurrence in a board meeting in public session, you get banned from board meetings. After you get a ban from a board meeting, you get a litigious, well, this is going to take 2 minutes.
Well, the text message with your community
You
manager.
have a question, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
You're not
Please-
going there.
Please,
But the timeline needs to be set. Then a threatening letter from a president of the board, personally addressed to me, followed up by a letter from the POA attorney, all without a charge, a discussion, a hearing, or anything. So then you put it out in the public format, what happened in executive session in a disciplinary proceeding. Could I ask you how you come up with the disciplinary hearings executive session, therefore not public? Versus taking someone like in my instance and making it public in your February minutes on front steps? In other words, you lied.
There was no lie there, John.
Yeah, there
I mean, we can talk about what you actually did in your actions, and we can explain it to the whole community, but I'm not gonna do that. If you would like to have a conversation on the side, you were part and you signed a code of conduct as a committee member, and you started attacking committee members. You literally went out and said, we have to have a vigilante against the people that do covenant enforcement. You were threatening other members.
Prove it.
It's there. It was enough to show to everyone, to the attorneys that said there's enough here. So it was there.
Months for the attorney to do it, right? I got to go.
next question. I have more. My name is Ann Simpson, and I live on Barbary Coast. Many of you know that I served 6 years as president of a full, this board, not this board, my previous boards, and it's not an easy job. And I'm very happy that you all came tonight to give your opinions. What I've noticed is, I've been to a lot of meet the candidates nights, as you have, Pat. And everyone gets a chance to talk about their vision for Fairfield Harbor. I have never been to a meeting like this. I think it was similar to how both sides were agitating the other side. And that's exactly what's wrong here. We need to get together. What if you're all in the same board? You don't try to even be civil to one another. And I think that's a bad way to start. And everybody needs to learn that we're adults and we need to get together. And we're moving forward.
Okay, I'm Sandy Drexler again, and this is for Don and Chris. I know you don't want the POA offices at the new Harbor Club. My question is, why would you want a beautiful new building locked up? Why wouldn't we want it open and have the POA there so that people could go in and out, use it, sit there? It's gonna be on the water. Why would you want to have to go get the key just to go set it to new Harbor Club? Why would you want it locked up?
Want a restaurant.
Well, I think the Harbor Club could be like we do this room. Get a key or put it like try and keep that on there and have access to it, you know. So, you know, if in the evening, if people want to go over there, or you would have some, you know, generally we have groups are reserved by groups, and they get the key and they go. So.
Man, that's a good question. Frankly, I haven't thought about that aspect of it, but as I sit and think about it, we have personnel that run around this community at 6 o'clock in the morning, addressing maintenance issues, beaver dam issues, and different things. We could easily have that crew open the place up for us when we're out doing our morning walk in the park paths and getting our exercise. Or wanting to just get our cup of coffee, go sit on the patio and watch the morning rise and feel the view and all that. Equally, we could have that same crew or even the residents assigned resident or volunteer in the evening, lock it up at night. And it'd be open for the community from, say, sunrise to 9 o'clock. It's open for everybody, and it's accessible to different people to go in and out as they do. It's for our use, it's our community. It should be accessible when we're away.
We currently don't have anybody monitoring the activity center over here either. That's open. You know, it's unlocked in the morning and open all day. So I don't see what I could be handled like that.
It's also right next to the POA office, so they can see it, manage it, and handle any issues there as well.
Dan Williams, the character. This is for Chris and John. What's your position with NDA?
Okay. I believe that, the current NDA is something that should not be in existence. Okay, I don't mind a confidentiality agreement, but, the current NDA, is just too restrictive. I mean, this is not a high security government building, job. I've had a secret clearance for 13 years. I kind of understand the difference between what's confidential, shouldn't be spoken about, and what is, classified. There's a big difference. We don't do anything around here that requires anything they might go over here.
I too am in the business of confidentiality and protecting people's rights, protecting people's personal information, and I believe that there are certain things that should not be and cannot be discussed with the public. However, an NDA, as it's written, I'd have to see it and have an attorney review it to verify that it's actually applicable to a volunteer position in this board. I haven't seen it, so if you're asking me about an NDA, I'm not in favor. The one that I understand they have, I would have to have it reviewed by private counsel and discuss its validity as it pertains to a board member's position. I really can't answer it as simplistic as the question is presented, sir. Thank you.
So maybe I can help you out. There's no NDA. There's a code that we all sign and agree to, that we will not speak ill of each other, and that what stays in the boardroom stays in the boardroom. That's all that we've agreed to as board members, so there's no NDA. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I am a commercial insurance agent, been doing it 20 years, licensed in 3 states, on an agency in Jacksonville, Florida. That building is gonna be mortgaged. There's not a lender in this country that is going to allow the vacant building to sit there unattended. It will have to be written as a vacant building. They will pull your loan, or they will put an insurance policy on it. No one will be able to afford it. It's going to have to be attended. And I like families and HOAs, so that's my specialty. So there's nothing in here that I'm not familiar with.
You said they are there.
You're quite welcome.
Rick Evans, Karen. Some agreement is between Foreman who came up and said that we have got to get better at getting together along with each other. It hurts me to see some of the things that we said about everything that's going on. As Don and Chris, and correct me if I'm wrong, as people who voted for signing the agreement or part of the litigiousness of trying to get rid of Phil and John, how is it even possible to come back together after that? How can we expect you to come together as a new board after you voted to kick started the agreement to kick these people off the board?
The answers?
Yeah. Well, I think that when we signed up to be on the board chair, that we were looking at how to work with board members, that we would be left on the board if started over the league. You know, the existing board members, I believe that we could work with. You know, I think what we're trying to do is just get a different path and a more open path with the community. I feel right now that the current there's not a lot of communication that they're flowing out. And you know, it just needs to be a better like I said, better communication with the community, you know, and better input from them. You know, I don't think that a lot of people feel like they're being heard. And you know, we would want to listen to everybody to get their input. And that would be including the existing board members.
You have another very good question. How would we get along with the remaining board members? I think the question was about how do I intend to work with the board if I signed a petition for removal and signed a proxy for somebody to vote on my behalf and at a satellite location. I exercised my First Amendment rights. I exercised my constitutional rights given to me by God. I have a voice, I have a thought, and I have a conviction. If you're going to ask me how I'm going to deal with this, there it is. I'm not going to just sit back. If I find an injustice or if I think there's something inappropriate, I have a voice, I'm going to use it. You address the fact that I sent a letter out. Yes, that letter had a lot of facts in it. That letter was open source information so that you could do your research. I'm open to conversation. Heck, I'm even open to the fact that when I'm wrong, I will stand up and apologize openly. I have yet to be wrong. It's intentional. But I understand the concerns about this matter. Now, how do I get along with the board? It goes back to what I said earlier. Everybody's got feelings. Everybody's got thoughts on those feelings, and their responses come out of those thoughts. Well, it's those actions that are dictated by the thoughts that go back to feelings that can't be invalidated.
Get there.
How many? Thank you. I believe in communication wholeheartedly. I also believe that you have a voice and you need to utilize it.
Okay, I'd like to comment on my aspect of that. I wasn't part of that memo and the thing that you did with Phil. And I'd like to use the United States constitutional rights that say when you're elected like you have U.S. House of Representative or Senator, and you serve your whole 3-year terms. Bill and I signed on with the intent to fill our whole 3-year terms, to take us off and usurp us off on this type of aspect. I think right away it tells everybody in the community that you have a different viewpoint on that. Okay? We're here to serve our 3 years. Vote us off in June if you don't like us. But to do this whole fiasco of voting us off and setting a petition around to say without cause to take us off a month before is absolutely ludicrous. And if that doesn't separate a community, I don't know what does.
When it comes to the end, Kevin, I think we're gonna have the last question. Aren't we happy to see him now?
All right, this question is gonna go to Phil, okay? On Chris's and Don's website, they state the community needs a strong conservative budget that incorporates disaster planning. Can you explain to all of us what disaster planning is in place?
Sure. And not quite. Sure, I'm not quite sure what they mean by disaster planning, but we're raising our reserves, as we talked about. We're raising our umbrella policy to $10 million, which it was at 1 million before, we got it to 5, we're gonna get it to 10, which is reflective of a coastal community. But if you go back to your bylaws, which I know a lot of people don't like, it states right in the bylaws that you have an option. By under 55A, if there is a disaster, you can take budget dollars and reassign them for the disaster. We also have another option that was, because of Florence, that a prior board put in, which was a great option, is that we can assess each homeowner $200 if we need to be able to cover it. But we think with the reserves, the umbrella policy, we will have enough to get to the deductible that's necessary, that's required for the POA property. So they're talking about homeowners and disasters on homeowners. That's what we have flood insurance for. That's what you have hail and protection for. Your insurance will cover for debris removal. So I'm not quite sure what they say about disaster planning and having disaster dollars there, because they are there.
I know it's true. I have to say a little bit about it.
Microphone.
Emergency planning.
Microphone.
Emergency planning. Separately from.
And you live in Florence, go ahead, tell us.
I live in Florence and
Yeah,
I.
tell me what number the body. I'm sorry.
Florence. That's Florence, I read in Florence. I read in Florence, and I was the president at the time. I believe what they were asking you is, do we have a plan? An emergency services plan? Who comes in to help? How do we get those people to help? Is it the Red Cross? Is it 100 other different places that helped out here? So I don't think your answer, that's how I would answer the question.
Well, no, the question was, and what Kevin asked is where they said they wanted disaster dollars, okay, for disaster relief. But you have a great point. If you look back at the firehouse, there's a trailer there, the CERT program.
Right.
Do you remember that, Carol? The CERT program? That takes volunteers. Do you know where that program is right now? It's dead. Because nobody would step up to do it.
I don't believe that that's totally true.
Oh, it's absolutely true.
It's absolutely true because I've been told that it's a lack of communication with certain people, not within this community. Very difficult to have, certain, it's hard for different police departments, fire departments. Everybody wants to be the top command. And so it's a very politically driven, committee. I don't even know if that's the right word. And I think there's a lot of young people who live here now that certainly could serve on that committee. Maybe they don't know what CERT is, but they used to come to, motor vehicle accidents and do all kinds of things. So from my end, it's not the money issue. My end is, okay, tomorrow we have a tornado that's gonna come through here and hit everybody's house. Like it could. In 30 seconds, thank you so much again for coming, but I really think you ought to think about, emergency response. There is one. There is.
Okay, real quick. They have, the candidates all have. We're done, we're finished. We wanted to get out of here, but I'm talking each one of these gentlemen have 2 minutes to give their wrap up, so. Another one. Not like this, no, I mean, they can hold their own campaign. Even if they want, and we're finished with the question, so they get us, I told Rick, this was the last one, and then the end of it, but I know the end of him. Okay, so the candidates now have up to 2 minutes to do a quick recap of what they want to say. Phil's away freezing to death, so he wants to get out of here. And I'm fine.
Well, we go the same order. I like bottom and then the main player.
Says field over there.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your attention and the insights. Your input tonight has been incredibly helpful to give us a vision of what it is that you're concerned about, what it is that you're thinking. My position doesn't change. Your voice matters, your feelings matter. Bridging the gap of communication between one side and the other, and putting us all in the same room is imperative for us to be cohesive, especially as Ann just mentioned, if there's a natural disaster coming around, we have to work together. Regardless of what other side of the room we're on, whether side of the table we're on, we have to work together. That is imperative. The fear of retaliation, I think, needs to stop. Whether it's FH stop, FH go, Facebook bullying, it doesn't really matter. The fear of retaliation should stop. The threats that go along out here, they just need to end. Okay? As John said, your choice makes the difference for the next 3 years. I ask that you vote for John and I for board of directors. But bottom line, however you vote, frankly, just vote. Whatever you vote, whatever the outcome is, we have to live with it for 3 years. So I encourage y'all just to vote. Again, I thank you for your time. My name is Chris Rollins, and I'm running for your board of directors.
Don't hit it yet. Okay. Much like our republic, here in America, our POA is set up for votes for individuals to serve on governing bodies to make decisions for the growth and prosperity of the community. If everyone had a seat at the table, there would be no need for yearly elections. Rather, we encourage people to join committees, to share their talents, thoughts, and ideas, to participate in the legwork that makes this community the amazing place that it is. Tonight, you discover that Mr. Barajas and Mr. Moore are two litigious men that fund causes to sue their neighbors to get what they want. Mr. Barajas says service above self, but his actions say otherwise. I'll represent you as a neighbor, but I don't want one next to me on the lot that's for sale. Mr. Moore has motioned several injunctions against the community through his contributions. And as a result of his donations, we've had to defend these legal demands using your POA lawyer. You have and will continue to pay for those lawsuits as property owners. For months now, you have seen and heard a lot of misinformation, half-truths, and outright falsehoods being circulated online, in print, about me, John, and the current boards. It's been a mission of personal destruction with no thought about the collateral damage to our spouses or what the greater New Bern area thinks of our community. I've read the new candidates' literature, and unfortunately, a vision is exactly what they're missing. No idea how to generate revenue, no strategies for business, no plans for growth, just vague promises. John and I have delivered on our promises in just 2 years. If you believe in financial stability, a secure neighborhood, continuing infrastructure improvements, growing non-dues revenue, and proven executives to run a $5 million community, I ask for your vote again in this election. I invite you to visit fhforward.org to learn more about John and I and our hopes for the community that we love so much. That is fhforward.org.
Thank you all for coming tonight. First of all, I appreciate you taking the time and coming up to hear us. We believe that, Chris and I believe that your voice matters to the community. We should listen to you and, believe what you're saying. Yeah. As far as the legit, legal aspects of it, I have donated to funds like Phil said. I've also donated to churches, food banks. I've donated to a lot of things. So donate to a fund that is going out and questioning the legal ability of something they believe is not legal to do doesn't bother me, okay? If they're questioning for example, the aspect that can they convert a couple of lots into a gate when the DORs strictly say that those lots are for homes only, and that there's no access in through from Broad Creek to those homes, to those lots. The DORs are very clear about that type of thing, and sometimes when the board leaders don't have any guidance over them, nothing to stop them, somebody has to step up. So I don't mind donating to a fund like that, so thank you very much.
Okay. All right, you've heard from all four of us. Our backgrounds and ideas cannot be more diverse. I believe in volunteering, giving back to your community. Like I mentioned, the wife has been on the Broad Creek Road Gang. I do VITA. I mentioned these before, so I'm not going to go through it again. I can back up what I said, can they? Listen, some skills are adaptable and some are not. I know you would not want me to be doing your software on your computer or applying it to commercial life. And you certainly do not want me responsible for arresting a burglar at your home. And I do not think you want them running a $5 million budget with the patch and fix philosophy that put us in this predicament in the first place. Please remember everything you heard tonight. Please take home our information and theirs. Tomorrow, put them side by side. Now, who do you think will continue to improve your community in the next 3 years? Please elect Phil and I for a second term. Let us finish the work we started. The Marines are being repaired. The restaurant and golf course are heading in the right direction financially. Our audited financials are in such good condition that we have banks competing for the right to finance the Harbor Club Community Center. It will be started this summer and completed next summer. Look at that building versus where we're sitting here right now, which is sad, okay? Please vote again for Phil and I. Our future for Fairfield Harbor depends on it. Thank you all.
Anyway, wrap up, just want to say thank you all, thank you gentlemen for showing up and for volunteering your time, for your years, 3 years of service. You may vote for one or two. You have to vote for two. We vote for one or two candidates. I don't care how you vote, I don't care how you vote, you should care how you vote, but please make it in the mail about your vote, please get your vote. Oh, that's right, I forgot, that's right, so. Also, Rick Finley's son and Al Ashtower waiting for the video streaming, so we were back. Everybody, see you next year.